Okay, yesterday we didn't learn, so let's get back to here. We're discussing Pas Yisro. Now we're going to the dinim, what's called Bishul Akum. Now, if a guy cooks things for you, sometimes the food is forbidden to eat. Not only that, your utensils actually become treif. Also, they need to be kashered. But in order to have the din of Bishul Akum, there's two criterias. Number one, it has to be something that's not eaten raw. Something you eat raw, there's no Bishul Akum. For instance, if a guy bakes an apple, a guy cooks fruit, a guy does whatever, the din is, it doesn't... Let me turn it on. If a guy cooks things that are edible raw, there's no din of Bishul Akum. Because anything which is eaten raw, fruits or whatever it may be, there's no din of Bishul Akum.
What about sushi?
Sushi, no, the fish, well, we'll get to that. Second criteria of Bishul Akum, it has to be fit, it has to be, it's called an halacha, Eila Shulchan Malachim. It has to be, simply means, it goes on the king's table. Or in today's language, it means something you would serve at a banquet. Okay, now, if those two criteria are met, number one, the guy has to do the cooking on something which is not edible raw. By the way, halacha says, even though an egg, some people do eat it raw, but it's not the normal way of eating, so an egg, it applies it in a Bishul Akum. Egg is a prominent food. They do serve eggs at banquets and things like that. Depends what type of meal, whatever it is. So then, the din of Bishul Akum would apply. If a Jew does something in the cooking process, they stir the food, or like you were saying the other day, they turn on the fire, which is good for Ashkenaz and not for Sfadim, if you remember what we said. Or a Jew, it's partially cooked and the Jew finishes cooking. Or, a very practical case, you have food in the house that's already cooked. And a non-Jew reheats the food. So if a non-Jew reheats the food, it's not a problem, because the food is already cooked and the Jew cooked it. So it's because the Jew did a major part in the cooking, or any part of the cooking for that matter. As long as the Jew comes and stirs the food, it's also considered that a Jew had a part in it. Now the question is like this. For instance, potatoes are not eaten raw, not yet. So if a potato is not eaten raw, technically, and a potato is a very interesting argument between the Aruch HaShulchan and the Chayadam, if potatoes are Ola Shulchan Malachim or not. By the way, they just discovered potatoes about in the time of the Alter Rebbe, the Chayadam, when those people lived, that's when they found this concept of potatoes. You don't find potatoes, tapuchi adamo, as it's called in Hebrew, mentioned earlier in halacha before that time. So one opinion says it is Eila Shulchan Malachim. Another opinion says it's not Eila Shulchan Malachim, which basically is not even an argument. It depends on the time and the place. Today, potatoes are Eila Shulchan Malachim. You go to a banquet, they'll serve you baked potatoes, whatever. So today, potatoes are...
Mashed potatoes.
Right, well, they'll serve you mashed potatoes, they'll serve half a potato, baked potato, whatever. They serve it at dinners, and therefore that's called Eila Shulchan Malachim. So therefore, a guy can't bake a potato because number one, you can't eat it raw, and secondly, it's Eila Shulchan Malachim. But now the question is potato chips. Potato chips. You ever hear of them? Okay. Now, there's an argument in halacha whether potato chips apply this concept of Bishul Akum or not. What's the argument? Potatoes are Eila Shulchan Malachim. It's a prominent food. Potato chips are not served at banquets. So the question is, when the Goyish companies make fried potato chips or cooked potato chips, whatever, the question is that considered potatoes, which is fit for a banquet, or do you look at potato chips, which is not fit for a banquet? So, believe it or not, most opinions say, you look at potato chips are not Eila Shulchan Malachim, and therefore a lot of people are makel with potato chips. Some people are machmir with potato chips also. They say, listen, potatoes are not elo shochem malachim, so therefore potato chips also. The difference so therefore what's the practical question? If you have OU potato chips, like Lay's potato chips or not. So they don't, again, the OU doesn't guarantee Bishul Akum and all, that is only Bishul Yisrael. So therefore the question is, can you eat Lay's potato chips or Weiss potato chips or in Chicago there's a very famous brand called Jay's potato chips. You know, the question can you eat it or not. So halachically, you could be makel. Some people are machmer that they don't eat it because the machmer with potato chips. Now, one second, let me just say one more point. Pringles, by the way, a lot of them became OUD, but Pringles is better halachically in this than potato chips. Potato chips, how does potato chips work? They slice potatoes very thin, and then they fry them. That's the way potato chips. Therefore, what's the bracha on a normal potato chip? Hadama. It's mamish, a piece of potato that's fried. Just like a baked potato, you make hadama. A cooked potato, you make hadama. So potato chips is sliced very thin, and then they fry them. So therefore, it will be hadama. Pringles, the bracha on Pringles is not hadama. The bracha on Pringles is shahakol. Why are Pringles shahakol, not hadama? Because Pringles are what's called dehydrated potatoes. What they do is they dehydrated the potatoes, and the meaning they remove all the liquid from it, and now it's a powder. And they take that's why can they make Pringles all the same shape? You never find potato chips all the same shape. It doesn't exist. Because when you slice it, every potato is bigger, smaller, every potato is different. You're not going to have the same things. But over there by Pringles is dehydrated potatoes, meaning it becomes what's called potato starch. When people use potato starch, Pesach, what bracha do you make on a cake made from potato starch? Shahakol. Because only the 5 grains that you grind up is the flour better than the grain that you make a mezainis or a meitzi, depending what. But everything else, if somebody takes soy and makes a powder out of it, or quinoa, or whatever it is, then the bracha would be shahakol, like potato starch. So what are Pringles? Pringles are basically dehydrated potatoes. It's not even a potato anymore. Therefore, it's more probable to say there's no din of Bishul Akum on Pringles, because they're not fit for a table. They're not potatoes. What? Huh? Now most of them became OUD. The mamish put milk into the ingredients.
Would the same thing be applied to popcorn?
No, popcorn is corn, which is different than potatoes. First of all, there's another. I'm not done yet. That's okay. Now, what's if something is steamed? Not cooked, not fried, not baked. It's steamed. Which a lot of cereals, B'chlal, today, the Kellogg's, the Post, those types of cereals, are actually steamed. And there's a tshuva in the Darkei Tshuva writes that according to many, many opinions, most of the world is lenient in this today, that steaming is not the original gzeira. The Chachamim said baking and frying and cooking, and steaming they never said. They never said the steaming. By the way, a lot of canned goods are steamed. They're not cooked. They're steamed. Buy a can of peas, corn. They're not cooked. They're actually steamed. So according to many opinions, steaming doesn't make it din a Bishul Akum, because it's not the original gzeira that Chachamim made, and we can't add our own decrees on our own. So steaming would be orphaned. There's another thing. There's a whole tshuva, what's called Tadas Maya from Rabbi Tlushkin, has a whole tshuva. What do you have these cereals? Rice Krispies, cornflakes, Cheerios, and all these types of things. Is it a problem of Elah Shulchan Malachim or not? So he writes that it's not a problem. Why? These cereals are made to eat with milk. So it's not even the thing itself. You eat it with milk, so it loses its prominence as an individual thing. And secondly, Nobody serves cornflakes at a banquet. And now, popped corn is the same thing. Popcorn is not baked, it's not fried. What is it? It's popped, right? Therefore, you put it in the microwave, there's no oil, there's no nothing, you're not baking, it pops it. Now, corn itself is questionable if it's Eila Shulchan Malachim or not. It's question about kitnius, if kitnius, legumes are Eila Shulchan Malachim. But some of them might be, because it depends if you serve it at a banquet, you don't serve it at a banquet. But popped corn is definitely not a shaila Bishul Akum, as long as you need a hechsher, because you have to make sure there's the oil, if there's oil in it, it's kosher, and the butter, whatever it is. But if it has an OU, and you're popping the popcorn, or the popcorn is already popped, but it has a hechsher, so then it's not a problem with Bishul Akum, because again, it's not cooked, it's not fried, it's not steamed, it's anything like that. It doesn't mean anything. What? What?
Hamburger and hot dogs. So is it?
But which hot dogs?
Hamburgers and hot dogs.
That's meat.
Right, but I mean, you wouldn't have hamburger and bacon.
No, but once you talk about meat, fish,
So why does it matter with corn? So potatoes and
because corn and potatoes, not according to all opinions, are Bishul Akum. Come, like we said before, some opinions. So over there you're much more makel. But meat and fish, yeah, they don't serve. By the way, go to bar mitzvah, the kids' table has hot dogs, and it tastes better than the adult food.
All the adults go.
All the adults go to the kids' tables because it's better. So they do serve hot dogs. Hamburgers also. You can't say they don't serve, but even
you go
not.
sometimes to fancy restaurants, they give you hamburger like fancy hamburger.
They make a barbecue. No, they make a barbecue. But not only that, once it's meat, fish, or something like that, it doesn't matter about Bishul Akum. I mean, therefore, Marshall, if a guy makes a scrambled egg, you're not allowed to eat it. And not only that, it asks the pot.